Well, we had Judge Andrew Napolitano on with us today, then Governor Jesse Ventura, and now we have Dr. Rima Laibow, MD, and her husband together back in Panama. The one, the only, Major General Albert Stubblebine III, U.S. Army retired. We went over his bio last week. You can find out more at healthfreedomusa.org. One word, healthfreedomusa.org. And we are honored to have them with us into the next hour for the balance of the show. Coming up at 20 after, I promise we're going directly to your questions or comments for General Stubblebine or Dr. Laibow. But for now, they're going to give us an update on Codex Alimentarius. They just returned from Germany, exposing what's happening there to give us this report. And then we'll get into the latest flu developments with this soft kill weapon. Doctor and General, it's good to have you back with us.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Great being back.
You talked about Codex, and I want to remind your listeners that the Codex Alimentarius is a UN commission which is run and funded by WHO, not your friends, and the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, another not person-friendly organization that we in the United States know much less about than we do WHO. I want to remind you that WHO is using a two-pronged genocidal tool. One prong is the degradation of the world's food supply and the mandating of undernutrition, which they admit is the principal, the undernutrition is the principal cause of what they call the non-communicable preventable diseases of undernutrition: cancer, cardiovascular disease, stroke, diabetes, and obesity. These 5 diseases alone are not only the 5 principal moneymakers for Big Pharma, and of course we have to add vaccines in there as another principal moneymaker, big time. But in addition to that, they are the principal killers in the developed and now the developing world. So if you mandate undernutrition and then sanctimoniously say, well, it's undernutrition that causes these diseases, isn't that too bad? You are definitely talking out of both sides of your genocidal mouth. The other thing that WHO has been doing since 1974 is perfecting genocidal vaccines, and they've been caught on it in places like the Philippine High Court. They've been...
You know, that's a good point. I didn't bring this up to you, Dr. Laibow. Last week, it actually came out in UN documents where they discussed in the 60s, in fact, we need to get that pulled back up. They discussed using vaccines as the delivery system of cancer and sterilization. So, I mean, as you said, they've been caught by high courts in India, the Philippines, in Africa. I mean, this is really starting to get out.
That's right. And it's very important for your listeners and the people that your listeners talk to, and for the people who go to our website, healthfreedomusa.org, to understand that these sacred cow organizations, the U.S. government, WHO, the UN, and the pharmaceutical industry, are held aloft by propaganda. They are, when you investigate the facts as you do, as we do, Alex, what you come up with is a horrifying, breathtaking, mind-numbing evil. It's that simple. Now, when I say that there are interlinked genocidal tools, you have to understand, of course, that the immune system is the common pathway for both of their weapons. The immune system is damaged and destroyed by their vaccine, as well as directly inducing sterility. And the immune system is damaged by their degraded food.
Stay there, doctor. Back in 1 minute. We're talking about Endgame, a pharmacological military-industrial complex grid of control, a scientific dictatorship, a planetary dictatorship to carry out the orderly extermination of the majority of the world population. Now, from UN documents, I made this film 3 years ago, Endgame, documenting it all. Now we have the White House Science Czar's own book as if I wrote it, but from their perspective, or as if General Stubblebine wrote it, but from their perspective, confirming everything we've ever said. Because we can look at what they're doing and tell you what their operation is, but to have their signed, sealed confessions and then to not see them arrested, to not see this stopping, it's incredible. Dr. Rima Laibow, medical doctor, she's treated heads of state, her husband, their partners in fighting crime, Major General Stubblebine. They're both here with us, and we're going to go back to Dr. Laibow here in a minute. They join us via speakerphone because we can't get through the regular line in Central America right now, so we're on their backup line. General, knowing about John P. Holdren's publications and the internal government documents that are now public, where the plan to carry out this extermination is just admitted, is it the weight of the system, its own inertia, that they don't get in trouble, or kind of like Hitler couldn't get in trouble until we finally removed him? I mean, where is this going?
No, I don't think so. I think that they are, in some way, are of the opinion that they've got to publish what they're going to do so that it makes it all right when they actually do it. There's another piece, too, and that is, if you're going to have a program that as complicated as this one, then you must have a manual by which you go by. You know that every item in the military has got a manual somewhere. So they've written the manual for us.
And I want to make another point, Alex. You said, why don't they get in trouble? Well, they control the system so they don't get in trouble with indictments and things like that. But we, you and I and the other truth discussers, we are their trouble. And as long as we have the Internet, they are increasingly, day by day, exponentially in more trouble because we understand what they're doing. We're finding their documents and we're disseminating them. And we're creating pushback. And it is pushback that has saved us so far. I want to mention something that may seem a little bit unrelated, but it's actually a good example of pushback. The National Organic Standards Board of the United States Department of Agriculture was a good idea when it was started in the 90s, but it has become, like everything else in the federal government, like the FDA, the Fraud and Death Administration, and the CDC, the Centers for Disease Creation. They have become the tools of the industries that they were designed to regulate. The same is true with the National Organic Standards Board, which now allows more than 10% GMO contamination in your organic food. It allows organic hops in your organic beer. But in addition to that, it allows GMO hops in your organic beer. But one thing that happened because of huge public outcry today is that the National Organic Standards Board was forced to apply organic standards to body care products as well as food products. They named by name Amazon Organics, Avalon Organics, Desert Essence Organics, Giovanni Organic Cosmetics, Jason Pure Natural and Organic Cosmetics, Nature's Gateway Organics, and Noah's Natural Organics as companies that were not following the organic rules. Doesn't sound like a big win in the context of genocidal activities.
Yeah, so they're taking over the certifiers of organics so they can mislabel them. Stay there. We got to go to break. We're going to try a better phone line with you guys as well. Stay with us. Hey, folks, this